Hello, I'm Jim Paxson. Today we'll take you on a fun-filled dove hunt just for kids and go fishing for free at one of our community lakes. Then we'll take you inside an artist world of carving duck decoys. All that and more coming up next on Arizona Wildlife Views.
Arizona Wildlife Views is brought to you by the sale of hunting and fishing licenses and the Heritage Fund, lottery dollars working for wildlife. Some projects made possible by the Sport Fish and Wildlife Restoration Fund.
Welcome to our show. In our first story today, you'll meet some future wildlife conservationists as they take to the field for the opening weekend of early dove season.
Okay, when you're waiting for the birds, guns are up in the air. Muzzles are pointed up, one shell at a time. Finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. There you go. Hey!
It's early September, the opening weekend of dove hunting season in Arizona.
There you go. Good shot.
Yay!
And these kids are having a blast.
Although I had to wake up early.
Even though I have to wake up at 2 o'clock,
3:30 in the morning, I was thinking, oh man, I get to shoot doves down, but then I have to wake up early at the same time.
Good morning. Can I have your first name, please?
We asked them to be here about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Ethan, there you are.
This is the Robbins Butte Youth Dove Hunt for kids 17 and younger.
You have your survey this morning? Great. First time hunter?
Yes.
It's an annual event made possible by the Arizona Game and Fish Department, Youth Outdoors Unlimited, the National Wild Turkey Federation, Arizona Outdoor Sports, and Arizona Sportsmen for Wildlife Conservation. That word, conservation, is one reason why these kids are here.
When you get to your spot, you're gonna have a 45 degrees, so put your hands out here like this. That's about 45 degrees. That's your safe zone of fire. Now, if you're standing closer to people, then it's going to get smaller.
They're the future of wildlife conservation, whether they know it or not.
When you get on the hay wagon, they're going to put these little flags in your chamber so that we know the guns are empty. And you won't be able to get on the hay wagon unless you have one of these in your gun.
Let's throw one of those in there. Clear.
As the next generation of sportsmen and women, we're counting on them to continue funding our nation's conservation efforts with the money they'll spend on hunting and fishing licenses and the taxes they'll pay on guns, ammo, and other outdoor gear.
Keep the action open and out when you're carrying it.
It amounts to billions of dollars a year nationwide. Money that's used to improve habitat, conduct the science of game management, and recover endangered species.
All right, let's load it up.
Without that money, the future of America's wildlife is uncertain.
Have fun.
So that's the serious side of this event.
Safety's number one. Number two is have a good time.
This is honestly all about just getting the families out here and enjoying a good day of hunting. And with so many other choices that, out there today, that if we don't get more people involved in hunting and fishing and things like that, maybe that tradition will go away forever. And I don't want to see that happen. And, so I try to do my best to get people out here to enjoy that.
How we doing, Dad? You having fun?
I think the youngest one I registered was 8 years old.
Getting tired?
I think we had about 20 young ladies out here, which is out of 75 kids, that's pretty good, I think.
And then when that bird flies, you just put the bird right above the end of the gun.
We had kids never shot a shotgun before, limited experience. Then the same thing with dove hunting. Have you ever hunted before? No, a little, done it a lot. So we had them everywhere in between.
yeah, I've shot a gun before, but I just haven't been hunting.
And you're looking right down here and you see the BB at the end?
The coaches in Arizona Outdoor Sports are amazing. They're fantastic.
There you go. Good job.
They do an amazing job showing those kids how to shoot, and then you get to see that gleam in their eye when finally that one comes out of the sky. you'll remember that forever. And that's why all these coaches, they volunteered their time all to be out here. They want to see that smile. That's what brings them back every year.
First of all, they taste good. And I just like walking around, being in the wilderness. It's fun.
There's a lot to like out here at the Robbins Butte Wildlife Area.
Just shooting.
It's nice to be out here in the wildlife, kind of.
Especially
Seeing all the birds fly.
Especially on the weekends.
Okay, there's one coming in right here. All right, shoot. There you go, good shot.
This 3,000-acre property near the city of Buckeye is managed by the Arizona Game and Fish Department.
And there's so many birds out there. It's just they're all over the place.
There's a 15-dove daily bag limit, but few kids come close to that mark.
They're tiny, and you can barely see them from far away. So I barely got to shoot any, but it was hard.
It's very challenging because they can move around really fast. I thought it was pretty fun and a great experience, mainly because I was with my dad. I really enjoy spending time with my dad.
So I got your bird here, huh?
You shot it right on the wing.
Good father-son time, definitely. I am a gun owner, so I'm conscious about gun safety, but hunting is just, it's out of my realm. So this was a good avenue for us to go and give the boys a proper hunting experience.
After a few hours of shooting, the kids collect their birds and head back to camp.
Oh, a little bit less than 40.
We had them check in, and I think one of the things the biologists did here is to use the wings to show them the age of the birds.
You count from the outside 10, 9, 8, and that short feather is the molt feather, it's a replacement feather. A molt of 8 is about 100 days old. So that bird's 100 days old. And they'll use this information to determine how many dove can be harvested each year.
Right behind us, they're cleaning the doves, so that's important too, is proper game handling. If you don't handle the meat correctly or the birds correctly, it's not going to taste good when you get it home. So we're showing them the proper ways to clean them and to keep them legal for transporting them home. And we've given them some ideas on how to cook it.
This was taco sauce. I've got recipes for other ones. Those were done in barbecue sauce in the crock pot. Turn these babies for just a minute. You can use any taco sauce, but I'm a fan of Taco Bell mild.
It tastes really good. It tastes much better with Taco Bell sauce.
It makes my day being out here when I've got a child come up to me that's got his very first dove, and he says, "Can you cook it?" And I cook it, and he gets to eat his dove, and he likes it. Well, I know that I've just helped make that child a dove hunter for the rest of his life, and I've taught him how to cook it, so that makes my day.
I was really happy to get some good pictures of them for some memories.
It was a great day for the Gomez family.
And I shot down 2 doves, so yay me.
Just really impressed with this whole day, actually, so we'll be back.
And 9-year-old Jonathan will be highly recommending the camp to all of his friends.
It's really fun, and you'll never know about hunting unless you try it. Do it. I would just tell them to do it.
There's nothing quite like nature to stir our souls, calm our nerves, and ease our minds. Jim and Kathy Soretta share a lifelong love for the outdoors. On an early morning walk near their North Phoenix home, they take time to appreciate wildlife.
You can tell it's morning feeding time.
Ducks and other waterfowl have a special place in their hearts.
Now those are all green-winged teal. It's just a beautiful morning. So here we are enjoying the birds.
Nothing man-made comes close to capturing the essence of these splendid creatures. But that doesn't stop Jim from trying, and for quite some time his attempts have been making a splash.
Well, I like working with wood, and I carve duck decoys You know, I've been doing this since about 1978. So however many years that it is, and it's been a ball. Okay. I go down to the lumber yard and pick out just the wood I want. Make that first cut through the wood. And this wonderful smell comes out of the wood. The smell of the sugar pine is just wonderful. I use sugar pine.
It's just so fragrant. It's just lovely. So he'd be working in the garage in his shop and whittling and carving and that type of thing, and he'd walk in the house and it's just, he smelled so good.
Working with sugar pine couldn't be more appropriate for Jim Soretta. After all, he's had a pretty sweet life, much of it spent making candy at the family-owned Soretta Candy Company in downtown Glendale.
You know what, we all have friends that are doctors and lawyers, but nobody really wants to see those guys, but they all want to see the candy man. So yeah, it's been fun my entire life. Well, I don't know about you, but that's what we start with. Let's go use a draw knife. I use all hand tools. And I'm going to use a draw knife to remove big chunks of wood on the body, rough shape it, just big chunks flying off this thing.
Every flake that falls to the floor brings Jim a little closer to the outdoors and memories of time with family and friends watching and waiting for ducks to drop in on his decoys.
You don't even have to shoot them. It's just fun to see the birds come and go, and we've done that many times. So the whole process is a continuation of the outdoors into our my workshop here and making a duck decoy. And now we can start working on our shape even better and better. We're trying to release a duck that is trapped in this wood. It's just a little bit argumentative at times, but we're getting there. And at this point, we're removing a lot of wood and getting rid of all the little flat spots, little piece of wood that kind of pokes up, says, I really shouldn't be here.
Using files and rasps, Jim continues to shape the sugar pine. He won't be satisfied until every curve and every angle form the perfect swimming pintail.
Very, very true to the shape of the duck, very true to the pate pattern. The pate pattern's got to be right on. And that's one of the things I enjoy, because when they're out there on the water and a duck flies in, they're kind of hard to tell apart actually, except for one's moving a lot more than one of my wooden blocks. So I enjoy getting them true to character.
These are some of his classic renditions of waterfowl. As good as they look, they don't sound like much, but Jim has that covered.
So this is one of my hand-carved duck calls, and they sound like this.
He does teal and widgeon and mallards, of course, and they all have the sound indigenous to that species.
Boy, they're flying close today. I like to stipple a little bit. It gives it such a nice, natural, soft, downy look to the paint.
During the 80s and 90s, Jim entered his decoys in carving competitions from coast to coast, not in the decorative categories. Those are for decoys most at home in a museum. Jim's birds are meant to be outside, which is why he always entered the service class.
He always entered the working class decoy and took numerous first ribbons, numerous ribbons in general. I think of him as an artist, I do. Yes, I do. I don't know that he thinks of himself as an artist, but I think that he's an amazing artist.
I see my end product and it looks great. I enjoy the ducks. I guess you could call me an artist. I look at me as just a guy that just likes to hunt and fish and make duck decoys.
Okay.
You know, over the years, I've had a lot of people request duck decoys from me. I always requested, take the bird out, get its feet wet. If you didn't do that, you didn't do the right thing, because the fun part about a duck decoy is to get it wet.
They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. For Jim Soretta and his wife Kathy, imitation has always been something that's brought them just a little bit closer to the real thing.
It's just really been a great enrichment in our lives.
We got birds up there. Look at the birds up there.
If you are lucky enough to see a bald eagle soaring over Arizona's lakes and streams, you know what a breathtaking sight it can be. One of the main reasons we have a chance to watch bald eagles at all in our desert state is because of a small group of people who, during the eagle's breeding season, watch them all the time. In 1978, the Arizona bald eagle population wasn't in very good shape. There were only 11 breeding pairs in the state, and nationally, the bald eagle had been placed on the federal endangered species list. That same year, the U.S. Forest Service asked 2 Audubon volunteers to observe and monitor a single nesting pair of eagles near Bartlett Lake to better understand the effects of recreation on nesting behavior and success. They learned a lot. The monitoring was expanded to other breeding areas and eventually developed into the Arizona Bald Eagle Nest Watch program. Today, the program is coordinated by Arizona Game and Fish with input from the Southwestern Bald Eagle Management Committee, which is represented by 26 different governmental agencies, tribes, and private organizations. The bald eagle was removed from the endangered species list in 2007, but is still protected by state and federal law. This year, there are 17 nest watchers keeping a close eye on Arizona's bald eagles. Working in teams of 2, they camp at sites where they can observe the birds without disturbing them. They monitor the birds constantly for 10 days at a stretch, then they're off for 4 days. The working conditions can be rugged, and some eagle territories are in remote locations, but nest watchers love what they do. They record data on life history, nesting habits, and how the eagles use their habitat. By the end of this season, they will have monitored at least 13 sites full-time, plus regularly checked on 6 other breeding sites. The most sensitive time in a young eagle's life is while it is in the nest. If a nest watcher determines an eagle is in peril, they notify Arizona Game and Fish personnel who will immediately come to the site, assess the situation, and if necessary, perform a rescue.
This nest, we were alerted by the Arizona Bald Eagle Nest Watch personnel that this female in this breeding area has not been seen since last Thursday, which would have been 4 days ago. And we are concerned about the health and welfare of these baby eagles because they are being cared for by one sole parent.
In this case, the orphaned nestlings were taken to Liberty Wildlife Rehabilitation Foundation, where they were cared for until they were able to be returned to the wild. Perhaps the most important way nest watchers get people involved in protecting the bald eagle is by educating them about the importance of seasonal closures near breeding areas. Bald eagles can be found near water in areas that are also attractive to boaters, hikers, and other outdoor recreationists. So making contact with these people about how human disturbance can impact the nesting attempt has been key to their success. 2015 was a very good year for bald eagles in Arizona. 59 breeding pairs produced 66 eaglets that went on to leave the nest. That's more than 1 fledgling per pair, sort of the national gold standard for bald eagle production. The Arizona Bald Eagle Nest Watch program is the only one of its kind in the United States. Since its modest beginning, the program has contributed significantly to the recovery, conservation, and growth of this unique population of desert nesting bald eagles.
There's nothing better than spending a Saturday morning fishing with friends and family, unless maybe your fishing license was free.
We do a number of sport fishing clinics at our community fishing waters. What makes this one unique is that we had community leaders from the city of Glendale step forward with some generous sponsors, and they donated funds to buy licenses for youth, up to 1,000 free youth hunting and fish combo licenses. So that's why we're here today. It's great weather, it's good turnout, and hopefully we're going to see some fish caught today.
Glendale City Councilman Jamie Aldama was the driving force behind the free license program, but he isn't taking credit for the idea.
Really, this was born from my son James Aldama, who my wife and I raised on fishing, and it was his idea. It was born from him getting kids out when the cost for the license were reduced to $5. We thought, well, that's pretty affordable. Why not make it free for kids?
Game and Fish was already planning a free fishing clinic at Bonsall Park in Glendale that would provide rods, bait, and instruction at no charge for anyone who wanted to try their hand at fishing for the day. However, the free youth licenses are good for kids ages 10 to 17 for an entire year, and there was no shortage of families who waited in line to sign their kids up.
You know, you have to hold that little black piece down.
Sonia Howridge, her husband, and their 7 children came out today to enjoy the fishing clinic and get a license for one of their sons.
My kids like to sit inside and watch TV, so I noticed when we were younger, my dad used to bring us fishing, and I found it entertaining, and I found it to be something that kept us a little bit occupied outside in nature. And we have a son who's 10, so he really was excited about getting a license today.
The community fishing program has been bringing fishing to people for over 30 years who may not otherwise have the means to travel to Arizona's mountain lakes and streams. It began in the 1980s with just a couple of urban lakes in Scottsdale and Phoenix, and it's been growing ever since.
Well, the community program started because they realized that a lot of the growth within Arizona, as well as most other states, is in urban settings. And urban settings, there wasn't very many fishing opportunities available. But, you know, Phoenix, despite being in the desert, it actually has a considerable amount of water in city parks and recreation areas throughout the valley. So that was the impetus behind the program, is bring fishing opportunities into these cities where we had lakes and ponds established. Up until 2013, we had 21 waters in the program. And on January 1st of 2014, we added several more waters to bring it up to 36. And our hope is that we can continue this growth into the future. Right now we reach about 71,000 dedicated anglers that come out to our community waters, and our goal is to try to reach 200,000 anglers by the year 2025. So that means growing into new communities with new waters, new locations. We want people to have opportunities to fish in the urban settings so that they can travel less than 5 miles to get to a place to fish.
These lakes are regularly stocked with trout in the winter, catfish in the warmer months, and bluegill once in the spring. All the fish are good to eat, but there are limits on how many you can take home. For information on stocking schedules, lake locations, bag limits, and license requirements, you can pick up a free community program fishing guidebook at any licensed dealer or Game and Fish office, or check it out online. Back at Bonsall Park, families are enjoying the chance to try something new or rekindling a love for fishing that they had forgotten about.
Well, I got to tell you, this is our first annual, and we hope to do this annually to provide the license, continue the relationships, and do this every single year.
Today's event, although we're giving away free fishing licenses, it really isn't about the free license. It's about getting kids engaged in these outdoor activities, get them away from the TV sets, get them away from their phones, and just get them outdoors and enjoying time with family in beautiful park settings throughout the city, so that hopefully we can get them hooked so they'll be fishermen or anglers and hunters for life. That's our hope.
I did. Dad.
Well, that's our show for today. We hope you enjoyed it. For more information, go to our website at azgfd.gov. For all the fine folks at Arizona Game and Fish, I'm Jim Paxson. We'll see you next time.